We're in the midst of a huge transformation where peers, communities, and workplaces are all really melding into one. Welcome to Reimagining Company Culture. My name is Christina Giordano. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a partnerships manager here at AllVoices. Today, I'm very excited to welcome our next guest, Karis Jones. She's the VP of Human Resources at Good American and SKIMS. Karis, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the platform.
Absolutely. I love your cheetah jumpsuit or shirt that's happening right now as well.
Thank you. Good American flavor.
You too. I definitely want it. If you could start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, including your pronouns, and when you were younger, how did you answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, wow. So my name is Karis Jones. I work at SKIMS and Good American and serve as the VP of Human Resources. My pronouns are she and her and hers. And what I wanted to be when I grew up, I wanted to be so many things, I think. But what still stands out to me is I wanted to be a judge for a good amount of time. But I didn't want to be a lawyer, so I don't know if that would have worked out so well for me anyway, but I still daydream about that sometimes.
That's great. I don't know any kid who's like, I'm going to be a judge, so it's very unique. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I must have liked telling people what to do, or I don't know.
Well, that's great. I love it. Well, if we fast forward to right now, you're one of the culture champions at SKIMS. I would love to know, in terms of company culture, what differentiates your culture at the company, especially right now as we're rethinking kind of the future of work. Like, how would you describe the workplace?
Yeah, so, SKIMS is really interesting because they are having such high growth and such some rapid success. God, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stop.
Absolutely. So we'll start. Do you want me to ask you the question again?
Yeah, ask you the question again. I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous, but I think it'll wear off after.
No, you're good. No worries. You're doing a good job. So we'll start from the top of the second question, company culture differentiator. Fast forwarding to right now, you're one of the culture champions at SKIMS, and especially as we're thinking about the future of work, how would you describe your company culture and what differentiates yourself from others in the market?
Yeah, so I think that, SKIMS being a really true startup, right? We've only been in business under 2 years, and we are experiencing rapid growth and rapid success. And I think that we're just beginning to build and develop our culture, right? We're just now starting out. And so I think it's going to be really important for us to build a culture around innovation. And what I mean by that is empowering employees to speak up, and also creating an environment where I like to say bad ideas are welcome. And what I mean by that is, if you're afraid to tell me your bad ideas, I'm probably never going to hear your good ideas, right? And so we want to establish a culture where there's trust, we're listening. It's okay to raise your hand. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear those like crazy things you thought of in the middle of the night, because we want to continue to have this momentum. We want to be able to use that energy that we have right now, just to maintain a culture of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a kind of 2 years to be starting a business. And I feel like everybody kind of knows the SKIMS brand as well. And you mentioned things like really supporting employees and building that culture of trust, especially over this past year. How have you really shifted or adapted your strategies in terms of HR, people, talent, maybe like mental health benefits, things of that nature, since we're experiencing so much change?
Yeah. So last year was, just crazy, for lack of a better word.
Would agree.
Right. I think there were so many life changes happening, and that created some unique challenges, I think, for HR professionals. We had to pivot a lot, make, a lot of changes that we weren't necessarily prepared for. And both Good American and SKIMS, were experiencing high growth at the same time. And so I think it was it was a challenge to be able to celebrate that, right? We're all working really hard and seeing these great results, but with everything going on in the world, it felt kind of awkward to have these like great pat on the back moments and celebratory moments, you know? So, with the pressures of the pandemic and social injustice that we are seeing, I think it was really important for us to just check on people. Are you okay? What can we do to support your individual circumstance? Because, during the pandemic, people had different things going on with their family and different challenges. And so, we just tried to keep people engaged, tried to keep things going. And we had many awkward Zoom meetings and happy hours and weird virtual events. And, maybe it felt awkward at the time, but I still think it was important to keep people connected and see each other's faces, even if we're in these little bitty boxes, right? So, that was really important to us. And even our CEO, Emma Greed, she did a really great Zoom meeting with the mom. She's a mom, and just being able to have a conversation like that about the particular challenges that working moms are facing during the pandemic was really, I think employees were really grateful, to be able to communicate like that in a really real way. So.
Yeah, I think it's great that she really held an intentional space on Zoom for mothers at the company as well, and offering up that vulnerability as well. So I think that is something that's really practicing what you preach. And you mentioned just, checking on employees and making sure that wherever they are, that you are supporting them from, a company perspective. Are you thinking around like what a return to office plan looks like, and really ensuring that folks feel safe, both physically and psychologically safe, just returning to work, whatever that looks like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So return to office, seriously hot topic, right? So
right. Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking about that every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, so being a company, both SKIMS and Good American that are product driven and product based, we do feel like it's really important for our employees to be in contact with the brand, with the product. So, being able to come in, feel the product, see the product, experience the product, try it on if you want to, and no matter what department you're in, I think it helps overall. And then also, we like FaceTime. We really think that the social aspect of work is important. People have been siloed or been home for a while. And even though actually our office has been open most of the pandemic, so we're starting to see people come in even naturally, right? Without asking them. We're seeing more people coming into the office on a regular basis, 1 or 2 days a week. And so what we're thinking about doing, or not thinking about doing, what we're going to do is we're asking senior leaders to come into the office starting in June on a flexible schedule, again, 2 to 3 days a week. And then by fall, we're hoping to be able to ask all employees to come back on a flexible schedule, 2 to 3 days a week. And so how we're going to continue to keep people safe is really just to continue the practices that we have been doing throughout the pandemic. Number one, we're going to encourage vaccines. I've been vaccinated. A lot of our senior leaders have been vaccinated. Good, congratulations. And, we're going to encourage that because right now it is the best defense we have against the virus. So, and then in addition, we have been offering on-site COVID testing twice a week. So we're going to continue that practice. We have been offering enhanced cleaning. We have someone on site all day during business hours, cleaning those high touch surfaces, and just continuing to follow the CDC guidelines and LA County guidelines to make sure that, we're in line with what, doctors are saying we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that definitely makes sense, and continuously having these practices and having a dynamic strategy as well. So making sure employees feel safe and asking them to, in terms of employee like engagement? How do you really kind of ask folks or check in with people, as you stated before, in terms of like one-on-one interactions or using any tools? Like, what are your thoughts around how you collect that employee feedback?
Yeah. So, we have really, so let me use this. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So, we have really started using surveys to our advantage. I love a good survey. I think it gives a space for employees to give open feedback, sometimes anonymously. A lot of times we do a lot anonymous surveys so people can be honest. We want to know what we're doing well and what we're not doing well, where we can improve, where there's gaps and holes, right? So I think that's a really great way to receive feedback. And then another thing that we increased during the pandemic was just touch bases, right? So we're asking managers to be in contact with employees on a fairly regular basis. A 15-minute touch base every week is pretty, it's not a lot to ask. And I think it goes a long way to be able to help people prioritize tasks, to be able to know expectations, to understand where you're at, to be able to talk about those little things that are happening in your life that might be affecting work, or just to have a space. So I think that's the best way to get feedback and get honest opinions from employees.
Absolutely. It's garnering that feedback and asking in a variety of different ways and different strategies too, just meeting employees where they are, because it's not a one size kind of fits all approach, is what I'm kind of hearing from you as well. I know one of the things that you mentioned over this past year that has been a major kind of, it's forced like corporate social justice and the social injustice that we're seeing in the world and in the US today. And one of the topics we definitely wanted to discuss was SKIMS, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan, and what the strategy is around that.
Yeah. So another thing last year, right? So it was great to see, the resurgence of the civil rights movement, and though, although a lot of that was painful, right, to watch what was happening on TV and around the world. I think there's good things coming out of that, right? And one of those things is businesses are looking at their DI strategy and saying, are we doing everything we can do? Is this a high priority? And so that was no different for SKIMS and Good American. And so I sat down with our CEOs and with our leadership team, and Emma came up with a great name. So we launched Project Change Absolutely Everything. And that we were doing anything wrong, but we just really wanted to refocus, and say, what can we be doing better here? So what we did is we reassessed our hiring and promotion strategy, right? We looked at our compensation strategy. We added more accountability. We also really focused in on training and education. As a matter of fact, next month, we're doing another training on breaking down barriers and crucial conversations around DEI and how we speak to each other. How do we get to really doing the work that counts and creating communication and community around that? So, we've done the unconscious bias trainings, and that's great, but we really want to, we don't want it to just stop there. We want to do community outreach. We're working on a more robust internship program and offering more access, just in fashion and marketing in general. I think there has been kind of some barriers to access for Black and Brown people. And so, we're evaluating that all the time. We're looking at how not just to hire more diversely, but also what are we doing to retain that top talent, right? So it's a constant building and just sustaining the momentum that we had last year around DEI and making sure that we're continuing to focus on that.
Wow. Project Change Absolutely Everything is definitely a great name. And I think it's really important because I think a lot of times when companies are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's only focused on whether it's community outreach, social impact through the product, or it's only focused on hiring underrepresented talent, but it's also important to retain, promote, and pay your talent as well. And you can look at it from a 360-degree approach, which I think is really great. And depending on what kind of project or initiative you're looking at, you of course measure it differently, and everybody wants to know, how do we track our progress? Could you share a little bit about how you track, SKIMS and Good American's progress towards these large goals?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of that we're doing is kind of hard to track, right? It's effective, a lot of trainings and such, but we have added a analytics component. So we are looking at salary and hiring with demographics. So we're able to see, are we getting enough diverse candidates? How can we affect that? So Emma, for instance, is on the board of the 15% Pledge, who has a job board that is growing. And so we're making sure that we're sourcing and posting on these sites that are really diverse and are actually speaking and paying attention to DEI and enhancing our culture in that way. So we are definitely looking at the numbers, and looking at the analytics and constantly, judging ourselves against that. Right. And then again, the accountability piece, we're working with some outside partners to help us continue a robust DEI program. Right. And we also have, of course, an accountability committee internally that we meet once a month to go over our goals and make sure that we're on the right track.
That's great. I think there are some strategies that you can measure hard and fast metrics behind, like pay equity and salary, and then others of just the sense of belonging is harder to measure as well. So it's important to have both qualitative and quantitative metrics for success. And it sounds like you are really personally passionate about the space and just about hiring really great talent as well. And just the team in general is really passionate about what they do. And this is something that I struggle with as well. How do you kind of help, especially as a manager and a leader on the team, really proactively prevent burnout for members, especially we're in each other's homes right now. You could be working all hours of the day if someone would like. How do you really think about that?
Yeah. Burnout has also been, a real concern during the pandemic and over the year, because it's so funny because prior to the pandemic, I think we all thought working from home was like just the best idea ever, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, but great, right? And I think what we found there are a lot of specific challenges that come with working from home, especially when your family's at home too, or maybe you don't have family and you're feeling alone all the time. Right. So there is a lot of things to weigh there. And I think also with the decreased commute, as you mentioned just a minute ago, a lot of people were working more than they ever had, right? Because it's like, I don't have that. We're in LA, so it's traffic everywhere. I don't have that hour drive to work. I get up, I come downstairs, I'm at my desk, I'm working, So, for us, we really encourage people to use their PTO. We have unlimited PTO plan. And so, everybody needs to reset sometime. And even if you weren't going on some great, vacation to Bora Bora, unfortunately, it's still important to take time for yourself, take self-care. And so we were speaking that out loud to people, raise your hand if you're having trouble, if you're feeling overwhelmed, let us know so that we can step in and help to calm that anxiety, help to prioritize things so people can, attack things in a one at a time type of basis and just take a deep breath. So again, with the more regular check-ins from managers and overall just keeping the communication open and flowing so that we can catch things early and prevent, people at their wits' end.
Yeah, absolutely. I always you don't know what you don't know, and communication is so important to just having the open line of vulnerability and also sharing just the situation you are working from home in as well. And we just talked about how your CEO had a conversation for working
Yeah.
mothers, and I think that is also a huge conversation going on for caregiving and every sense of the definition if you do have kids at home. And I wanted to ask what your kind of caregiving benefits or policies are for folks, especially in regards to flexible hours, and just thinking about how you're supporting parents during this time as well.
Yeah, the great thing about both SKIMS and Good American is that, we really represent this kind of female empowerment and also being a female-led brand at Good American and a lot of, powerful women on the SKIMS leadership team as well. It's important that we also take that into consideration, our policies, right?
Yeah.
So we have a really great parental leave policy. We supplement the salaries of our moms who are going through, So we supplement the salaries for our parents that are having starting families and having new babies. And so when they're on parental leave or maternity leave, we make sure that they're receiving 100% of their salary so they can still take care of their families and do what they need to do at home. And then in addition to that, we also offer 4 additional weeks of paid parental leave for bonding time, even after they've exhausted the state disability. And so, again, it's important for us to support parents and support our moms wherever we can. So we want to have really strong policies here.
Yeah, it sounds like you do have strong policies. And again, modeling from the top is so important too. So it's good that female empowerment and also just supporting one another is something that is a value lived by folks on the team as well. And a common theme that we have been talking about is just employee listening, great communication, and having that two-way conversation. And I wanted to kind of directly ask as well, why is that really important to you as a leader, and what do you see as the impact of real employee trust and listening at the organizations?
Yeah, I would say I think you're listening in on me at work. This is trust and listening. It's a huge skills that I think go a really long way in any organization, and we're really talking about that a lot as we begin to develop the culture at SKIMS. And so, if I had it my way, I'd probably just blast Brene Brown books through the speakers at our office.
Our vulnerability, yeah.
Right. But I think it just goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier around creating a culture of innovation, right? So if we are empowering people to speak up and we want to hear their ideas, then that is a form of building trust, right? And
Right.
listening and wanting to hear from people. So it's the trust for sure. It's the listening. It's also the hearing, right? So when people are saying something, are we considering their ideas? Are we making sure that everyone is here? Hey, let's say this in front of the team. Who can, what can we add to what whoever came up with? So I think it's just, it's really about fostering a culture that is open and innovative and always looking for and progressive, right? So if we're talking about having an inclusive culture and have an innovative culture, I think that trust and listening only grows stronger in that environment.
Absolutely. Innovation is definitely necessary for changing absolutely everything and being creative.
Right? It's a thread through the whole company, it's not just innovative products, it's also innovative processes. And like you said, changing absolutely everything. And that's one thing I really love about startups, right? We don't have to do it like we used to do it. We can do it in new ways and innovative ways and continue creating. So.
Absolutely. I've heard less people say just in startups, well, that's the way things always have been done, so we need to continue doing them this way. It's just people are more willing to fill in the white space and just also have a little bit more ownership over just the trajectory of the business and the work that you're doing as well, because it's a smaller mission-driven team.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a trend that you're seeing within human resources that really leaders, companies, and individuals need to just be aware of and focus on, in your opinion, that need to be successful in the future?
Yeah, I think that top talent and even consumers, want to associate themselves with brands and companies that are more conscious, right, and more responsible. And overall, I think there's kind of a movement toward, asking businesses to be more socially responsible, right, to be more environmentally responsible, to be more fiscally responsible, right? It's not the job of the people. We need to rely on businesses to act appropriately. And so, I think that leaders that are looking at this moment and thinking it's just something that's going to pass by and we're just going to get back to business as usual, I think they're really going to miss out, and they're going to find themselves, falling behind. For instance, Good American right now is really close to becoming B Corp certified. And I think
exciting.
It's really exciting. We've been working on it for a while, and we're in the review stages now. And I really think that it's going to take commitments like that and commitments to social and environmental goals to be a company that's a leader in the future. And so, Good American and SKIMS are making those commitments now, because we know this is going to be important, and we're going to continue to build a culture around social and environmental responsibility, and carry our business in that way for forever, for a long time to come, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I think B corporations are so important and make a really big impact on their community and the world at large, and personally love shopping at them. So that is definitely something that is important, and something that talent and consumers are, like you said, looking for as well. A lot of people would look at your job and say, oh my gosh, she is the VP of Human Resources at SKIMS and Good American. It's a glamorous job, but I'm sure that there are hard parts of it. What is one of the hardest parts of your job?
That's kind of hard. You're right. I do like my job. I really enjoy my job. I enjoy the people who I work with. So even, the challenges for me are exciting, but, as an HR professional, I think it's the hardest part is still terminations, right? Like letting people go. It never feels good. It's always awkward. You don't get good at it, right? It's nothing that you're like, oh, I'm so great at firing people.
You don't want to practice it.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to avoid it. I don't want to cause all of that. So that's always still, a hard part of my job. But, even as I look at that part of the employee life cycle, we want to try and make it amicable. And then also, as a startup, sometimes we lose people for reasons that are related to maybe we don't have the space, the role yet for the next step in someone's career. And so one thing that I focus on is when we have good people, right, and maybe they're leaving for reasons, not because we don't want them or they don't want us, but just circumstances around the business. I try and work really closely with our family of brands to keep top talent around, also with our partners at Imaginary and their portfolio of brands, just to make sure that, we're not losing those really talented, really engaged employees, and maybe, we can help them find something appropriate really close. So, when we do have those new roles opening as we continue to grow, maybe there's a new way for them to grow and make an impact at the business.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're really invested in your people, no matter if they're with your specific brands or if they're in kind of the family of brands as well. And I think that's really important and speaks to relationship building as well.
For sure. Yeah, and that's a real important part of recruiting just in general, right? Like I try and speak to people, even if I don't have a role, but if you're reaching out or I'm reaching out, it's just so that we can establish a relationship and maybe find a time that, works in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be related to work or it could be anything, but what is something that we would be surprised to know about you?
Let's see. I mean, I think overall I'm pretty boring, but
I got it.
People, I am a hypnotherapist and or used to be a hypnotherapist. I don't practice anymore because I can't practice on employees, but but people find that interesting, and I guess a little bit weird, but it has helped me a ton actually as an HR professional. Just
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of what hypnotherapy is about is talk therapy. So it's kind of that counseling, coaching part, and the listening, and knowing that generally the issue is never the issue. So
Yeah.
So it really has helped me immensely in my role in human resources.
That's great. I mean, that's a fun fact. I definitely think that's not boring at all.
Yeah, came through with something.
No, I think that's great. I know that we discussed a variety of topics today about your experience, SKIMS, Good American, and just where you see the industry going in terms of trends. But is there anything that you would like to else share with the listeners that maybe I didn't ask, or just a point you would like to reemphasize as well?
I think overall, I think SKIMS and Good American are amazing brands that are growing and having rapid success, and we're hiring. So have a lot of roles open and roles to come this year. So, if you're listening, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Love to chat or connect.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice for folks who might be thinking about applying or interviewing?
Yeah. So, people often reach out to me on LinkedIn or in other
I bet.
to ask me questions like that,
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a job, not even necessarily with our brand, but with any brand, I think it's the same thing that we were just talking about with recruiting. It's about relationship building,
Yeah.
right? So it's the emailing, it's the outreach on LinkedIn and other platforms and social media even. And I tell people, maybe you don't get an answer, email them again. It's not it doesn't hurt. I can click delete if I want to, but if you continue to make those connections and build those relationships, when the role comes up, I'm like, oh, I got somebody.
And then you think of someone. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been speaking to them for a year, and just staying in contact or an email, I'm going to reach out to them and bring them in for an interview. So, if that's the place someone finds themselves in right now, right, trying to find a job, maybe they just graduated from college or about to, right, we're in that season. I would just say to just build those relationships, make those connections, even if you think it's out of your reach.
Go for it.
You never know. Go for it. That's right.
Awesome. Karis, thank you so much for being on the podcast and this interview series. I really enjoyed meeting you and speaking with you as well.
Yeah, this was great. I really, again, appreciate your platform, thinking of me. This was a great experience, and thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We will talk soon. And as a reminder for folks who are listening, AllVoices believes in the empowerment of all employees to speak up and think it's a requirement in order for the organization to succeed. Have a good rest of your day.